maybe those are going ahead, but formal education, classroom attendance has not been a thing for us at such a time. We are ensuring that these 15 million Ugandans remain safe at home until all teachers have been vaccinated. I love the phase now. No jab, no job. And with me in studios, I'm privileged to have, that is Mwamula Juma, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Private Teachers Union. And I also have a teacher who is a member of the union, that is Mukasa Joseph, with me in studios, who is a teacher at Kawara, at Kinawa. That is a senior secondary school in Kawempe. Mwamula, you're most welcome to our studios this morning.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to you. Good morning to our viewers out there.
And also, Mukasa, you're most welcome to our studios.
Thank you very much. Good morning, sir. Good morning, viewers.
Well, today we are going to be looking at the plight of teachers amidst COVID-19 and also the reopening of education institutions. I'll begin with Mwamula. The last time we met or held a discussion, you're talking about the promised monies.
Yes.
And you were very hopeful that if these monies come your way, they're going to help teachers in one way or the other. Till today, I believe you're still hopeful.
Yeah, till today we still have live hopes, and we are sure the money will come. First is to again appreciate that there is already goodwill from the person of His Excellency the President. For him, he realized the problems that his people were going through and made that commitment. And at the level of his executive authority, that is all he can do. Meanwhile, we also now want to bring it to his attention that since he made the commitment for teachers to have the support, there had been some technicalities raised by a few persons here and there that has just failed that whole thing. Why I say that is because the other groups that did not have those unnecessary technicalities have already profited from their promises. At the time when teachers were promised the 20 billion shillings, is the same time when the President also commissioned the Myoga program for other categories of workers. And right today, MPs are in the field making evaluation for the Myoga, which means the money was long released, at least from the hands of government. Now it is into the hands of the people. Whatever is happening is a question of the people, especially the leaders of those respective groups and the membership of the Myoga groups. But for the money of the teachers, we have had trouble, especially with a few persons at the Ministry of Education who largely wanted to put forward their interests, their vested interests, I think, as persons. And that has been the reason why we have all these unnecessary delays. What happened in the first instance is that they claimed that teachers were too disorganized to help themselves. I don't know how true that can be said of a
which
teacher.
Was really evident in the number of organizations you had that bring you together, which was evident in an opportunity they had given you to ensure you streamline.
Prevalence of multiple numbers of organization in itself is not an evidence of disorganization. It rather should be taken for organization, because that means that teachers have started thinking about themselves beyond the persons. They now think in terms of groups. So what would have been the function of Ministry of Education is to galvanize all these various groups, now bring them into a single body. That is option A. The other option is to verify those different organizations that are existing and trade with them. After all, they represent teachers. There was already a starting point because people were organized, and you see the essence and how you benefit from this government money is when people are organized. Eventually, we are going to ask them that form groups. The groups are already there. They were already there. So there was no question going forward to say these people are disorganized and therefore they cannot be helped, especially at such a time when actually the need was dire. We were seeing the teachers dying in very flimsy cases simply because somebody is lacking 10,000 shillings, 20,000 shillings, and so. So for a person who was presiding at Ministry of Education, we expected that they will have had and expressed goodwill, exactly like the President had. But the confusion and the delays we had are emanating from persons at the ministry. And that one, as Uganda Private Teachers Union, that as teachers, we are going to confront. We are going to confront.
Away from the monies, the good thing is you remain hopeful. All is not gone. Maybe the other question that I'll put to Mukasa, is this still a relief package? Will it, even when finally getting to the teachers, will it solve the problem? Because now we are seeing it more as SACCO money, a revolving fund.
Thank you very much.
But let me allow you excuse yourself of the mask, since there is social distancing. And Juma too, please. It's more dangerous to put it at the chin, rather have it off.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. This money has delayed. That is the fact. Its first aim was relief. But as we talk, teachers have undergone very many challenges. Others are dying. Others are burning themselves. They are now resorting to other alternative odd jobs like bricklaying. But however, we still have hope. We believe when this money comes, teachers can try to assist themselves. Teachers can have simple businesses, and after some time, they can be able to take back that money. It is okay if the money comes at this time. Yeah, it is not so late. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Let me ask you a personal question on a lighter note. You're a teacher in active service.
Yes.
Do you feel proud of your profession at such a time?
Yes, I am proud. Only that the challenges we have undergone are the ones that are trying to make some of the teachers go away from that kind of pride. Yeah, but we still have hope that we can do well. We can still maintain and uphold the profession.
There is a fear that even when we open schools, some teachers may not go back to the noble profession.
That is true. It is very true. Because some people are already used to other jobs. They are earning fairly well, even better than the salaries they were getting before. Yes.
Juma, we are craving for the opening of schools. The parents want their children back to school. The ministry also wants education to thrive because this is the future of our nation. Sure. The longer we delay, the more problems we are going to have of the next generation. But there are terms, and one of the terms for the opening of schools is teachers must get vaccinated. Okay. We know about 300,000 doses of vaccines are going to be dedicated to teachers. But you're about 30,000 teachers in this country, or more. So let's first look at this condition of being vaccinated for you to access classroom or teach.
The experience COVID has brought, especially this ending second phase of COVID, has been very real and very near to all of us. We have seen people getting sick. We have seen people dying, including those who are very close to us. At least somebody must have lost a relative, or a village mate, or a friend in one way or the other. Now, the same experience also teaches us what COVID really is. In my own statement, COVID is deadly. And yet, it is very expensive to manage. Just when we were at the peak of second wave, we were hearing cases of people being held in hospitals on account of payment 100 million shillings plus and so on and so forth. Looking at the picture of an ordinary teacher working in a certain school X, if you ever contracted COVID and you are rushed to one of those facilities where you are going to be required to pay 100 million shillings, that would require you to work for the rest of your lifetime and perhaps have a few other clanmates to help you raise that money. Clearly, it means that we cannot opt for an option where we give chance to get COVID and then go through those painful scenarios. The best thing is to avoid. And one of the ways to avoid is, of course, to do these standard operating procedures, social distance, and so on and so forth. But because our line of work requires that we have to have interaction with people, then the other sure way is to vaccinate. Scientists and health practitioners have indicated to us that through vaccination, you do not necessarily prevent yourself from ever contracting COVID. But rather, you prepare your body to build the immune system such that when COVID comes into your body, you do not go to those excessive kind of effects that would require you to be hospitalized and be required to pay millions in hundreds. So therefore, the issue of immunization is a rational case that we all must appreciate. And in fact, we should not allow, just for our own sake, we should not allow anybody in the immunizable category to go and step into a working environment when he or she is not immunized. Because eventually it is going to catch up with him or her. What happens is that COVID is contagious. Any one of us can light a whole city. Just one person like this who is affected. If he gets into a vaccinated environment, can cause the whole virus to spread into the entire population in a certain community. So it is preferred that when people resume school, like we now wish that schools may resume, all our teachers, for purposes of their own safety, are immunized. Such that even when they contract this COVID from the learners who they are going to associate with, they have some body immunity to the extent that they cannot be adversely affected. So the issue of no jab, no job is a rational case. Not necessarily because it is coming as a political statement, but for our own good. And it is a case I want to implore all teachers really to appreciate. Maybe the other thing is that it has perhaps been brought a little bit politically, and therefore somebody would think it is more of an order and perhaps a bad will, a bad wish for the teachers. But honestly, it is for our own sake, because if you teach a contract COVID, you cannot be able to pay the bills at Platinum, sorry to mention, but at one of those high cost facilities around Uganda.
Mukasa, we've seen that right from inception among the categories that were to get this vaccine were teachers, priority groups. We had the military, the teachers, the elderly, and those with comorbidities. But has been a slow intake by the teachers. What has led to this way of not responding positively as much as it should have been expected? Yet we believe teachers are a group of people who are reformed, they do research, they are knowledgeable.
Yes, thank you very much. I will not say that teachers have not responded. Teachers had the will, but initially the jobs were not enough for them. Very many tried to turn up for the immunization, but they could always get disappointed. They always reach those centers and they cannot be helped. Now that the ministry is planning to create centers where these teachers will go, then all of them will go for the job. Yes.
Juma, returning to you, we know that at a time like this of COVID-19, there is also psychological issues. There are psychological issues. Sure. As a union that brings together teachers in private schools, how are you planning to prepare the teacher to be able to meet the student again and also be mindful of the different situations? Because the child that left in senior 2, when they resume, whenever school will open, some have been working, they are now used to money. Some may return their parents, they conceived and they are back to school. Others have had funny exposures. Sure. So it takes a teacher who is also psychologically upright to ensure they create this conducive environment. What plans? All we hear is open up, open up, open up.
First is that Uganda Private Teachers Union is a family of teachers, and you know part of our discipline is the issue of counseling and guidance. At least that is part and parcel of our training practice. But the other is that Uganda Private Teachers Union has a deliberate program running now where we are according psychosocial support to our colleagues. That we are doing as a team from a team of Uganda Private Teachers Union, but also in collaboration with one of our partner organizations whose competence is largely in line of counseling and guidance. It is true what we have gone through is really a lot, and what we are about to experience is equally challenging. So people need to be prepared psychologically on to how they are going to manage, just like you have just stated. Previously, we were handling the children, but going to back, we are going to find the same faces. Meanwhile, these faces are husbands, are wives, are mothers, and therefore are adult in one way or the other. May not necessarily be adult by virtue of age, but at least by virtue of responsibility. That means that how you handle such people is really very distinct from how you would imagine you would handle them ordinarily. So our team, our colleagues, our teachers, for purposes of giving out the best, they equally need to have appreciation of some of those basic facts, and that we are doing through our regular programming of counseling. So far, that program has been on a one-on-one based on need. But I think we are considering doing an open rollout with the support of you people in the media, whereby we'll have a few professional people coming here to give some messages that can help rejuvenate the vigor and the energies of the people who are about to start teaching.
Well, I just want to remind our viewers that you can be part of the topic of discussion by simply using our various social media platforms and our WhatsApp number. That is the number on your screen. Please feel free to send in a text message, a WhatsApp message, and be part of this discussion. We are looking at the plight of teachers under COVID-19, but also the reopening of school, where we know that a job is a necessity for a teacher to hold chalk if there are to be part of the school staff in any part of this country. And we are library informed that yes, we are expecting more vaccines, and about 300,000 have been set aside for the teaching, this noble cause, to ensure that teachers are vaccinated. And we also remember that now vaccination centers will be extended closer, that is at universities and schools, for teachers to partake of this job. So that is the number on your screen. Please send in your message via our WhatsApp number. Do not call, give us your name, and of course where you are watching the show from. Mukasa,
Yes.
as we yearn for the opening of schools, we had a history, that is when the first wave hit, that government came up with proper guidelines on the reopening of schools, how soaps were going to be maintained.
Yes.
But when the second wave came in, we understood and it was discovered that our schools were greatly infested with COVID-19. And it was very clear that the biggest challenge was failure to implement the soaps in schools. At such a time, what went wrong? How can we rectify this?
It is true that sincerely some schools didn't observe this SOPs very well. That is true. When they opened, after some time, they got used, and basically they ran away from what they were supposed to do at that time. And I think the problem was failure to monitor and supervise very well from the authorities. So therefore, as we open this time, I think it would be very, very, very important to monitor and supervise schools. Inspectors should be very, very keen on these schools and how schools are observing the SOPs. That's what I can say.
Do schools have the capacity to put in place what is required? For example, there was an isolation room. We had schools ensuring that every morning for their schools, they take the temperature guns.
Yes.
We had to ensure that students in these institutions at all times had their masks on.
Yes.
We had to ensure that there is proper record, people coming in and people coming out. These may seem simple, but the case is not going to be different, because much as the teacher is vaccinated, if you have a high infestation of the students with COVID-19, that can be disaster.
Yes.
Schools decided not to disclose when they had patients, when they had sick students. Some treated them in sick bays because there was fear that once cases are reported in my school, maybe I'll be asked to close business for some time. So do we have the integrity? Do we have the financial muscle? And is there the will?
We have the integrity. The will is there. If we try to compare the situation in schools and other places which are now operating, I think schools are far better. Schools have people who can easily monitor. Therefore, they are far better than other business places like shops and markets. I think schools can do well. We just need to monitor. We just need to supervise. That's what I can say.
Maybe the other thing, if you permit me to add on, of course, it is painful, but it is noted that at the inception of the outbreak of COVID, there were a lot of reservations in the population.
Yes.
Many people thought it is either a political gimmick, it is a hoax, or it is something far distant, perhaps still in Wuhan. But now, especially at the time when the second wave came, and we saw all those alarms, every household has appreciated that COVID is in Uganda and it is deadly. Therefore, as we speak now, there is a relative sense of personal responsibility in relationship to keeping safe from COVID. So when schools are given a chance, already people have that understanding that it had gone up to schools. Previously, people were thinking that children cannot contract COVID. That came as a first illusion. But now we have known, we have appreciated, first of all, that it can come even into our bedrooms. But important that when it comes to us, it is very, very, very expensive to manage. So that in itself is going to be a good driving force for every school establishment to realize that they are better off to keep safe and away from any cases that may bring COVID in their community than playing lax. The good thing, like Mr. Mukasa just stated, is that it is very easy to enforce order in schools. First of all, we have natural leaderships from students to teachers and so on and so forth. Those bureaucracies exist. Most of our schools have fence perimeters, therefore entry, especially of external persons, are limited. They have askaris. So just one man can man a whole school of about 1,000 population. In just one single day. He will sit there just at the gate, and whoever comes is able to capture the temperature and so on and so forth. We are glad lately, Minister of Education has written about a technology where now there is a connection between the temperature gun readings and the reporting system. So as you take temperature of the various entrants into the school, the machine is capturing those readings and somehow transmitting the results to another platform that then gives scientists or people who are competent to do evaluation of the cases. So with the help of such technology, then we can be sure that what we are talking about can be realized.
Well, we are still discussing, that is the plight of teachers and the reopening of schools. Feel free to be part of this discussion by sending in your message, your comment on the topic using our WhatsApp number, which is on your screen. We will be reading them out, and I believe the guests in studios will be able to respond to many of your questions, plus, and that is 0709 60 25 92, 0709 60 and we'll be able to read at that. But as also teachers in this noble profession, we have our poll question this morning. And Cabinet has approved that is to ensure that scientists are paid heavily, that maybe to retain them in this country. I don't know if you're science teachers or arts teachers, but do you think this will promote innovation in this sector? Juma.
Scientists are paid. I think that is a little broad.
That is the poll question. Cabinet has resolved to increase, that is, salaries of scientists. Will this help improve scientific innovation in our country?
What has been common statements from the Fountain of Honor, His Excellency the President of Uganda, has been that there are several courses that our children are taking, and sometimes those courses do not have really future. They also do not have a direct benefit to the development of the country, and I think that is something appreciated. Really, our education system needs to be overhauled. Of late, we have seen that science subjects have been made compulsory, especially at the level at the ordinary level. Every student is at least. So that is all okay. Now, putting an attracting remuneration is one way to continue encouraging Ugandans to uptake science as a field of studying. So that is okay, because what we have been lacking are people who are innovators, are people who can invent things that can bring about development. But there are some areas where we need to be so careful to realize that it is not about science that will have development. For instance, in our education sector where we come from, we have teachers who are categorized as arts teachers. We also have those who are science teachers. What I believe is that for a child to come out of a school as a holistically successful child, it takes the participation of all teachers. Somebody doing his English as a subject is really doing a lot for that person to eventually be able to pass physics. Somebody who is building the foundation of what has happened earlier before that child was born and so on is also making a better future to teach that learner that when you finish studying physics, you have to reflect on the dynamics of life around you. So when we are talking about paying teachers segregatively on the basis of one being a scientist or not, it is something that needs to be looked at a little much more deeper, because in my own view, everybody who is employed and offering a service as a teacher is contributing very commensurately to the eventual molding of this person who is going through a school system.
Mukasa, your comment on this?
Yes, it is good. Science teachers are doing a lot of work, but as Brother Juma has said, all teachers are contributing a lot. Teachers of languages, even teachers of history, arts. So there should be something at least balancing. If this kind of segregation is brought in, other teachers in other subjects will lose morale, which can also affect the whole education system. Yes.
Actually, what must be done is to holistically overhaul the welfare of a teacher wherever he or she is. Because what has been happening is that there has not been any pride in teaching as a profession, especially as related to payments. Even some of the public officers have been mocking us about the same, to the extent that when people raise voices, they advise that either go and rear this, go and dig, go and something like that. So for me, we need to appreciate that education is the foundation upon which our country shall develop, and therefore the people who are key to education are the teachers. So let us give in our all to make sure that the situation under which a teacher serves is really uplifted. This is happening in other countries, and where it has been done, really we see a lot of good coming from those countries.
Let me first take a look at some of the messages there that are coming in, and I'll be, okay, good morning, MU. It's true, increment motivate to only those who have passion. That is Lydia says that will only. Then scientists have not been doing serious innovations because they are struggling for survival. Now that this is going to be resolved, except from our scientists, that is David Masereka. Thank you so much, David, and thank you so much for bringing those messages. We just hope and pray that the plight of teachers will be addressed in this country, and of course holistically, like Juma has said, and Mukasa. But also we hope that all teachers will be able to get the jabs, because the longer you take to make that decision or go to that vaccination center when the vaccines are available, maybe the longer it would derail reopening of schools. Have a lovely day, stay safe, COVID is still around. I'll leave you with Ruben to take you through the sports updates. Good morning.